Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Deontay Wilder has given an interview, his first long-form interview for quite some time. It was with a YouTube channel, 78 Sports TV, and it was quite revealing because there were a number of things, not so much from Wilder himself, because he sort of spoke in the third person and sometimes went on the sort of preachy sort of stuff that he does, but his trainer Malik Scott was there. He was weighing in on quite a few issues, some of which was very fascinating stuff, but a number of things that I wanted to crack into and tell me your thoughts if you did catch it, or from some of what I'm about to tell you, what you make of it all. In terms of Malik Scott, because I think this is one of the things that a lot of people have been wondering about. Where does he sit in the hierarchy of Deontay Wilder's camp? Is he just an assistant? Is he something more? These are the questions that we've had about the setup for Wilder. And it wasn't really quite revealed because Scott himself called himself the head trainer, the head coach. And then Deontay Wilder, he addressed the issue of JD's, saying that, and D's, by the way, has been with Wilder since the 2000s. So Wilder walked into his gym, JD's has been his trainer ever since, also his co-manager, etc. So Wilder, he did address that to some degree, but not quite fully. He said that D's is still there. You can hear him in some of the training clips and stuff that have been out, but D's is still part of the camp. But it didn't really clear up, you know, if he's got a diminished training role, but you'd have to imagine to some degree with Malik Scott calling himself the head coach. Although JD's before has sort of characterized the sort of setup that they have is that he's the sort of head and then they have offensive and defensive coordinators, sort of likened it to American football. But yeah, obviously Malik Scott has got more control in the camp in terms of what he's doing with Deontay Wilder and the training of him. And I think we've been seeing that from some of the clips and other bits and pieces that have been emerging online. And there's been way more Wilder footage hitting the pads, hitting the bag than, you know, has really sort of come out before. It's been sort of a flood of different stuff in the past, what, 3 or 4 weeks. And obviously with Scott coming in an expanded role, Deontay Wilder's going to need to make some changes for the trilogy fight, the rematch, I guess, as it were, to actually change a few things because Tyson Fury did dominate him in that second fight. But Scott, he also talked about Deontay Wilder's state of mind, saying that Wilder was in a great place mentally and that he's been dialed in and he's been training as well as he ever has, and that this is as good as Malik Scott has seen since the Alexander Povetkin camp. So we're going back 5 years now. So he likened the way that Wilder is training and dialed in to that camp from 5 years ago. And further on in the interview, he also did discuss that Deontay Wilder, you know, had good chemistry with him, that he liked his mindset, but also he said how receptive he was to the training, to the instruction that he was giving Deontay Wilder. And I guess that's one of the things a lot of fans have been sort of thinking for a third fight, if one was to occur, and it is going to occur now. Can Deontay Wilder be better? Is he actually going to take on board whatever he needs to make some adjustments? And what we're hearing, what Malik Scott is saying, is that yes, he is going to. And from the training footage, he's been doing different things, and obviously he's been looking better on the pads. He's been throwing feints, he's been throwing body shots, you know, things that we don't normally see. And Deontay Wilder himself had fallen into that trap of saying basically he was a power puncher, or all he had to do was be perfect for a couple of seconds. People had to be perfect for 12 rounds. But it does appear that Wilder is going to come into the third fight with a different mindset. Although it was a little hard to sort of gauge through the interview in terms of, I mean, he seemed very happy and confident, and he was sort of, the demeanor that he sort of fronts for interviews like this was very similar to the demeanor from interviews even before that loss to Tyson Fury. So if there has been a shift, I mean, I guess ultimately some of this sort of stuff is going to play out over time. We're going to see in the ring on fight night whether he can actually implement something different. But there were a few other things of note that I wanted to touch on. A couple of things that, you know, because I was on the train listening to this, you know, going about my day, going into work. Couldn't get to it when it first came out, so this morning on the train. And then Deontay Wilder started to talk about Tyson Fury and the fact that he wanted to disfigure him, and then later talked about decapitating Tyson Fury. And I sort of, couldn't help but laugh. And I was walking off a train at the time, and about a dozen people turned around in my direction from this random sort of, chuckle out loud. But yeah, Deontay Wilder, so those comments, here's a brief summary of them.
And when you've been having your mind set on this one person and how you wanted to decapitate him in every way possible, it's like it's that premeditated stuff. And when I do see him, I'm going to love to see what I feel, what I'm thinking.
Wilder himself also says that the support that he's been getting has actually really helped him and has changed him, but not changed him.
I appreciate it so much. Oh my God. Y'all made me so much better.
One of the things that Malik Scott also said that I've been sort of talking about for a while is Wilder's health. That if he can stay healthy, obviously that's going to prolong his career. But also if he's always carrying injuries, niggling injuries that he's never really getting quite on top of. And obviously the right hand / right arm has been injured repeatedly, 7 surgeries, etc., broken arms, broken hands, etc., pins, been held together by sellotape in recent years. But Scott said that he is 100% healthy now. And that really is going to be something that's going to, I think, be a boost for him, if not just mentally, but, going into a third fight where he needs to turn things around and being in peak physical condition or something approaching it, not carrying all sorts of little injuries or, rehabbing from big ones, that he's able to come in there feeling fresh, feeling healthy. I think that is going to help him. But it was quite an interesting interview for all number of reasons. And I know a lot of people wouldn't have warmed to some of what was said by Deontay Wilder or Malik Scott. I know some people have already been saying that Scott is just a yes man and all that, but I do actually think Scott can bring some value to Wilder and his camp. And it was something that Wilder talked about. Basically, he wanted to bring in Scott to an expanded role, a number of years ago, but because of loyalty, he didn't. And actually, Scott, he sort of talked about that, they've gotten rid of the bad influences from Wilder's camp.
All the snakes were seen, and all the snakes was captured and thrown away.
Whether that's about Mark Breland or not, or if there was anyone else that was sort of expunged from the situation, who knows. But Deontay Wilder seemingly in good spirits, good working relationship with Malik Scott, and sounding happy and confident, albeit talking in the third person as he likes to do. Well, what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.